All right, just in the interest of time, we're going to go ahead and get started. We are recording this webinar, so for anybody who is on the webinar so far, you could obviously will get a link that you can watch this later, as well as anybody who's watching this later. Just know that we've got this recorded. You guys can ask questions where we'll get this posted. Wanted to kind of start this off. We got a great webinar today. We're going to be conscious of your guys' time, as we know you guys are busy here at the beginning of the year, but wanted to introduce one of our partners. We've introduced them several times in the past, but this is Bridge. I've got Margaret and I've also got Rashid on the call. Margaret is the CEO and co-founder over at Bridge. We've known him for a long time, spent a lot of good times at conferences with him, got to know him and his team really well. So really excited to have him here on this call, and as well his VP of Sales, Margaret Myers. Margaret has been at Bridge for several years and is very well versed kind of on the billing, reporting, portfolio management, and client portal side of things. So wanted to just kind of give a little bit of an intro so everybody knows who's on this call. As far as kind of today goes, and the big point of this conversation is just trying to increase the ability of AdvisorPeak. So one of the things that we've dealt with over the years, even before AdvisorPeak, always kind of revolved around data. We still deal with data issues from time to time, but within AdvisorPeak, all of you guys understand, our ability to kind of put together the rebalancing side of things, but then also just kind of from a reporting, billing, client portal side of things, Bridge is kind of really one of the top tier providers out here in this industry. So, we're going to focus a little bit on, what makes Bridge great and makes them special, as well as kind of some of you who are potentially bringing in your data from another provider or potentially bringing in from a custodian. We've got some options for you. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the time over to you, Rashid, and you can kind of jump right in.
Thanks, Jansen, and really glad to be on this today. Obviously, we've been working together for a while, like you said, conferences and some in-person time, and just excited to be renewing the partnership and renewing the focus and helping AdvisorPeak focus on what you guys do best on the rebalancing and trade management side of things. And leveraging some of our core expertise around data management and automation, reconciliation, things like that. Just a little bit about us, briefly. Again, my name is Rashid. I'm one of the co-founders here at Bridge. We've been operating for over 15 years in current capacity. I've been CEO for about 5 years now, so close to a 20-year operating history. Have our background in service bureau, so having a sort of human-driven process to help with the automation around recon and data management and portfolio reporting, things like that. And 5 years ago, we relaunched as a technology company to focus on turning those core capacities into a really great software and technology solution. Our goal is to build a better advisor, and we can't do that alone. So the partnership with AdvisorPeak is really important to us. It allows us to stay focused on our core competency. We don't have our own rebalancer. We integrate and partner with you guys for a reason. And that, again, allows us to have really high quality data and really focused on the infrastructure, data, accounting, reporting, things of that sort. So our mission, right, is to enable advisors to have greater success through software and transforming data into actionable information. Today, we're over 240 advisory firms that work with Bridge directly, and then there are dozens more through our ecosystem partners like AdvisorPeak, and that allows us then to work with advisors in new capacities, I should say, to improve data management and reconciliation. So, we're here to talk about today, and I'm excited that we'll be able to probably, I think we maybe be able to the world's shortest webinar that delivers a ton of value in a little amount of time, because the partnership that we're going to talk about is really simple in terms of the advisor experience, and really powerful in terms of what's happening in the back end between AdvisorPeak and Bridge and the data management that's going on there.
Thanks, Rasheen. So as Rasheen mentioned, right now we work with over 240 advisory firms to provide portfolio management software. So providing those advisors with billing and performance reporting capabilities. So our partnership with AdvisorPeak is providing a data-only service to advisors that are using AdvisorPeak, so you can utilize the same data that we use on our portfolio management software to optimize your experience within AdvisorPeak. So all of the firms that work with us today, including our own proprietary software, is run on the same data and API infrastructure that AdvisorPeak's integration is run off of. So data is at the core of our business, and we're confident that we can provide our advisors with high quality data on a consistent and automated basis. So today we work with various custodians to get that data directly. So right now the data feeds that we're getting come from TD Ameritrade, Schwab, Fidelity, Pershing, SSG, and DST. That data comes into our portfolio accounting system overnight. It's reconciled by our portfolio accounting system and overseen by our operations team. And then again, we're using that data on our front end for portfolio management software, but then also pushing that data into AdvisorPeak so that you can be using that clean reconciled data in AdvisorPeak each morning. So the goal of the integration is to offer you access to the same clean, reconciled, high quality data and optimize your experience within AdvisorPeak. Trust that you can get started right off the bat trading in AdvisorPeak, not have to mess around with data reconciliation, loading in files, any of that. Obviously, with data being at the very core of our business, we're very dedicated to providing high quality data and also securing that data. So with that, I'll turn it back to Rashid if you want to speak to just some of our security measures on the data side.
Yeah, thanks, Margaret. And as Margaret said, again, because data is at the core of what we do, the security around that is of the utmost importance. So we go through rigorous annual vendor review process with all of the custodians that we integrate with. That's both at the outset, being part of their sort of approved vendor circle, and then also on an ongoing maintenance review as well. We have our own security standards in it's called our InfoSec program that we maintain. That program is reviewed on a very frequent and consistent basis, and we actually have 24/7 penetration testing, security monitoring that we do as part of that InfoSec program. It happens on an automated basis, and so we're constantly looking at how can we continue to maintain the highest levels of security standards. And importantly too, again, we have read access on data. So that's another thing that's always good to emphasize, where AdvisorPeak is trading and allowing you to push those trades to the custodian. Bridge is a data manager, right? So we're just having read access. And there's not even on our end of things the ability to push trades or move money and things like that, which helps our security position as well. And on that, I think we'll turn it over to Jansen to show folks how easy it is to get this integration set up.
Yeah, absolutely. So just as some of you guys have kind of been sitting here, we like to throw around kind of big words, just kind of what this really means. But for any of you that are dealing with kind of the import process from either a custodian or another performance reporting system, this allows you to cut that process out. So as I log in here, many of you are used to coming in and either in the morning coming to your import tab and needing to run an import of data. This actually will bypass that because you won't need to run this import anymore. So you can see down here, as Bridge is one of our providers, the real secret sauce comes down into the settings behind kind of how this works. So when we talk about things being API driven or seamless or all these kind of fun little buzzwords, really what it means is just saving you guys some time and some effort that you're probably already exerting now. So if you're running, let's say, an export out of Schwab or an export out of TDA, and you're having to drag and drop those files into the system today, Bridge could potentially bypass that for you. So they will pull that data from your custodian and then connect it through basically what we call as an API. So you'll see here under the settings, under the Bridge financial settings in the system, you'll be provided basically your username and password, which is just kind of your credentials to the Bridge data only feed, again, because it is in a data only format. And then you'll see a couple of the options that you have here. Now, some of these are going to be a little less important than others just because it is going to be very data only driven. So it's going to be pulling in your accounts, the positions behind those accounts, the account balances, cost basis, and transactions. And so that's one of the nice parts about that is obviously being able to kind of bring that in. Now, the big part is being able to automate this. So Bridge is one of our automated import providers where you could come in here and say, let's run this Bridge import every morning at a certain given time. And we'll coordinate with Bridge and making sure that data is available. It's almost always available, if not always available, before market open. So that data will always be provided to you. This will run on its own. So when you log into AdvisorPeak in the morning, it's already updated. The best way to kind of check that, if you decide to go down this route, is to, one, let this run and then come over and check your import results. So inside of the import results, it will show where you have imported some data. So this completed import will have already run. You would click on that and then it would give you any alerts and potentially any errors or anything new that's come into the system. So this is a really good kind of first step where most of you are running your own imports. You can then just come straight to your import results. You could see any new accounts that have potentially come into the system. You could see any new securities, any new those types of things that kind of roll in that data only format, so that you could take a new account, make sure they have the right restrictions, make sure they have the right cash restrictions, do not sell restrictions, tax restrictions, all those things you guys are already used to. You could then assign it basically at that level. And then really at the end of the day, being able to come in and run trades or rebalances or whatever you need to do for your clients. So that's the big value here really is if you are running kind of those manual imports in the morning, we can help you kind of streamline that. So it's not something you have to do every single day. And so I walked you through a little bit of just kind of how things are set up. Obviously, if anybody decides to kind of go down this route, we can absolutely help you get this set up. Bridge will work with us and getting obviously your data only credentials and everything else. So as far as just kind of how things work in the system, that's kind of how that works there. So I'm going to turn it, I think, back to you, Rashid.
Yep. Thanks for that, Jensen. And this is definitely our strongest integration. I think from a data connectivity standpoint of any of our ecosystem partners, with the way that you guys have it set up is just really slick. So every day when the advisor's coming in, you're able to, again, just start your day with that import complete and making sure that we're cutting out some of that manual process and maybe some of that data entry error that might happen. All of our data is coming in reconciled. And as a result of our partnership, the thing that we're really excited about is now being able to work with AdvisorPeak's customers to have exclusive access to really affordable pricing that honestly, we've priced it to just deliver the value around the data piece of it and try and drive tremendous value there. And so we'll look at that in a moment. But we'll see some of the pricing that's available as a result of the fact that AdvisorPeak and Bridge have this partnership that's not available elsewhere in terms of the data reconciliation costs.
Yeah, and I just wanted to kind of add in there as well, Rashid. I mean, we've not previously had the ability to really do this. This is actually pretty exciting. It doesn't sound exciting because we're talking about data, we're talking about APIs, we're talking about imports and things like that. But there really is not another provider out there that we've been able to work with where they're willing to do this if you're not actually a client of theirs, right? So if you didn't need performance reporting software, or maybe you were on a more of a legacy system that doesn't have an API, this one would allow you to do that and get that data directly from your custodian. So we're excited about it. We've got a handful of firms that are already currently using it, as well as Bridge clients who have signed up with AdvisorPeak. that are already using it and, taking advantage of kind of the benefits there.
And we'll turn it over then to Margaret to talk a little bit about how, if firms are interested, they can get set up. It's really straightforward.
Thanks, Rashid. Thanks, Jansen. So what we are looking at right now on the right-hand side is just a screenshot of the landing page that we have set up. So as you can see here, there's a dedicated landing page for advisors that are working with AdvisorPeak already and that are interested in getting signed up with this data only offer. So pretty much you can come to this landing page, enter your information, and then we will be following up with you directly with the paperwork needed to get the custodian feed set up. So the advisor always initiates the custodian data feed authorization, and then from there we will initialize your accounts in our accounting system and then work with AdvisorPeak to get that feed set up. So really the only setup work that you have to do on your end is first letting us know that you want to get started and then completing the data authorization with the custodian. Our two client success teams will take care of the rest. As far as pricing goes, the pricing is based on AUM. So as you can see it here, it's a monthly fee per firm based on assets under management. Leave this up for just a second. And then I think we wanted to wrap up, just go through, I know we've gotten a few questions while we've been on. So Jansen, I'll turn it over to you to just kind of run through some of the questions and we can address those.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Several of you have kind of jumped in as we've been going through some things. So one of the questions that came in was what does API driven mean? I think we've kind of answered that. It's really just a seamless connection between two different technologies in kind of the event of sharing data. Another question that came up was kind of how long does this take to set up? So I'm going to refer to you, Margaret or Rashid, just as far as kind of how long would this take if somebody decided, hey, this looks good, what does it look like?
Thanks, Jansen. Yeah, and I can take that one. So it's really dependent on the custodian because different custodians have different turnaround times for those data forms. It's anywhere from a few days to get set up and going to a couple of weeks. And the process is largely just on our side of things. So as Margaret mentioned, there's a couple of forms for each custodian to get those data feeds turned on and authorized. And then once that happens, then we're able to just process on our client success team. So TD tends to typically be the fastest in terms of turning on those data forms. Fidelity has their own idiosyncrasies, but they have a very consistent, regimented schedule, things of that sort. That's something that we would make sure to inform any AdvisorPeak client that would be interested in this. We'll help set those expectations at the outset on sign up.
Perfect. Another question that came in was kind of asking around just kind of end of day values. So it just says, so basically the data that comes in is as of end of day values or is it real time? I can answer that one. So just like any other kind of import source that we work with, it is always kind of previous day close information. But then obviously within AdvisorPeak, you have the option for 15-minute delay pricing updates and temporary transactions if you're doing multiple trades during the day. So hopefully that kind of answers that. It's pretty similar really kind of across the board as far as that goes. The other one is, is Bridge approved with LPL and pulling LPL data?
Yeah, and today we are not a live partner of LPL's, unfortunately. The good news, however, is that we are working with their vendor approval team. So each custodian, each custody clearing firm has their own sort of independent vendor review process. We're confident that we'll be able to continue to work through it in 2021. And the thing I will say too is that it always helps when there are advisors who are interested in our data solutions to let your account manager at LPL or the custodian that we might not have on our platform today, to let them know that you'd be interested in that. That helps drive some urgency from their side of things. But we're in ongoing conversations with them and going through the vendor diligence process that they have set up.
Perfect. Here's another good one that kind of came in is, kind of, is there a limit to the amount of number of accounts that somebody can bring in? They probably noticed kind of your AUM pricing that you guys had in your slide, but do number of accounts affect that?
Yeah, and that's an easy one. The answer is nope. And it's really just as many accounts as the advisor has that they're going to bring over. That's totally fine for us. Our pricing we worked out with AdvisorPeak is lined up for the way that AdvisorPeak typically charges for your fee. So that way you're not getting this separate account fee that might be going up or down in a given month. Tried to make it very straightforward. So you could have 50 million in assets and 1,000 accounts, and it would cost the same as 50 million in assets and 100.
Perfect. There are a handful of other kind of questions that came in, but I'm just going to do one more as we promised to kind of keep this short. For anybody who put in another question, we will make sure to answer those. We can email you because we can see who's asked them. But really the last one was, do I need to be like a Bridge client to use this, or do I need it to kind of go through implementation?
Great question. It's a common one that we get with this data solution, and the answer is you do not have to be a Bridge customer directly. Like Jansen mentioned earlier, you don't have to use all of our performance reporting tools and capabilities around back office and fee billing and things like that. Because of our partnership with AdvisorPeak, you can have access to clean, automated, reconciled data. The only thing I would say, of course, is that when you go through the sign-up process, then there's an agreement around terms and conditions, and that's pretty standard. It just makes sure that we are beholden as an organization to data security and data standards, and that, of course, there's sort of boilerplate non-disclosure for us and things of that sort. That's required for us to make sure that we maintain for purposes of our vendor arrangements with the Fidelities and Schwabs and TDs of the world.
Perfect. Margaret, if you wouldn't mind rolling back to the page on where kind of the website is to potentially sign up for this. Obviously, you guys can go directly to that site if you're looking at doing this. You can also contact us. You can contact Bridge. Everybody's all kind of on the same page as far as what you're looking for. So if you call in, you're saying, hey, I'm looking for kind of the data only format, through Bridge to kind of bring in my data. You can obviously go and sign up directly. They'll know what that's about, or you can contact support or us over here at sales or sales over at Bridge. So you have a lot of options kind of from that standpoint. But I really appreciate you, Rashid, and Margaret for jumping on. Wanted to really kind of jump into that and show everybody. Again, we'll record this. If you have any additional questions, we'll make sure we get to those to you personally, and we'll kind of go from there. So anyways, Rashid, Margaret, thank you so much.
Thanks, Jansen. Really appreciate your time. Thanks, everyone, for joining.
Thanks, Jansen. Thanks all.
Yep, you're very welcome. Have a good day, guys.
All right. Bye-bye.